The case of Daniel Kinhan is getting tricky day by day, and things are getting more tragic and worse. But it feels like the case is bigger than it seems. These mafias are spreading their web, and cops and lawyers are trying to sort it out and clean it from the whole world. Nobody knows how many turns we still have to watch in the case of Eddie Hutch's murder. Today in this video, we are taking a sneak peek into the new revelation made in the case scenarios. The interaction between the mob's group. In the case of Eddie Hutch, many things are getting disclosed related to Daniel Kinhan. Before getting a call, let's begin. The murder of Eddie Hutch was one of the parts of the series of mass killings that happened that month. The Hutch faction planned to kill the cartel boss at the Regency, unaware of him at the moment. The intention got clear when a heavily armed hit crew burst into the Regency just 3 days after Kinahan's call to Eddie, revealing the Hutch faction's plans. After the six-man squad killed cartel Lieutenant David Byrne on February 5, 2016, it was a great shock for the cartel group. They decided to take revenge, and the cartel retaliated 3 days later. They murdered Eddie at his North Inner City Dublin home right on the third day. In an interview with a senior investigator at the Irish Sun, he said both groups had huge stress during those days. His exact words are, "There was a lot of tension between both groups in the days leading up to the Regency." He further said, "The fact that Daniel was still requesting a meeting after he had ordered Gerry Hutch's murder, received €200,000 from the Hutches in compensation for the attempt on Daniel's life in 2014, and tried to have Gerry Hutch killed, shows just how arrogant he was. There was no way Gerry Hutch would meet with Daniel Kinhan because they all knew he couldn't be trusted. He had a massive ego, but he was terrified of Gerry Hutch because he knew he would be a dangerous enemy. Eddie Hutch wasn't involved in the feud, but he was a soft touch and knew he still had contact with Gerry. So when David Byrne was murdered, the cartel immediately blamed Gerry Hutch and made it personal by killing Eddie. In short, the investigation reveals that Daniel Kinhan was arrogant and tried to have Gerry Hutch killed, as he was a dangerous enemy and Eddie Hutch was a soft touch. When David Byrne was murdered, the cartel blamed Gerry Hutch and made it personal. It was the second time Spanish detectives had obtained information on the cartel's interactions with the Hutches before the Regency attack. 18 reasons for the war. The 18 murders resulting from the Kinahans feud in Dublin have been linked to Gerry Hutch, Darren Kearns, David Byrne, Eddie Hutch Sr., Vinnie Ryan, Martin O'Rourke, Michael Barr, Gareth Hutch, Dithey Douglas, Trevor O'Neill, Glenn Clark, Noel Kirwan, Michael Goh, Jamie Teague, Kane McCormick, Derek Coakley Hutch, and Jason Buddha Molyneux. Gerry Hutch was the first victim of the feud and was shot dead in Spain. Darren Kearns was shot dead in Comiskey's pub car park on Dublin's Black Horse Avenue. Dithey Douglas was shot dead in Dublin City. Trevor O'Neill was gunned down in Mallorca. Glenn Clark was shot down in Leixlip, Co-Kildare. Noel Kirwan was shot dead at his partner's house in Clondalkin. Michael Goh was shot dead in an inner city. What are the scenarios? Did you know there was a lot of rush and nerve in the city those days? These mobsters make the city feel really unsafe and dangerous those days. So for revenge, the cartel group kills Eddie Hutch, the taxi driver. He is the brother of Gerry Hutch, the monk. The action was taken just 6 days after the mass killing at Regency. Present revelation. It is for the very first time the Irish Sun revealed that the Spanish cops came across a fact that the Kinahan was afraid of being killed by any senior mob group and gang. They also learned through an intelligence report that Gerry Hutch has huge support for the various criminal gangs and also has sources of weapons from Spain. The cops encountered an older criminal with a very violent and harsh background. He is supporting Gerry, but it does not happen like that. Later, he didn't get involved in that by saying he was too ill for the participation. Furthermore, Dutch investigators informed Gardaí that Hutch had access to weaponry through the gang's accomplices in Amsterdam. Who calls to whom? It was Kinahan who called Eddie. Kinahan called Eddie as parts of his efforts to arrange a meeting with Hutch. He has a $5 million bounty on his head from the U.S. government. According to investigators, during the phone call, Kinahan insisted that Hutch attend a meeting with the cartel. He also contacted Eddie's house to explain his situation. Christy Kinahan's son was Dapper Don. He was known as the boss of La Organización by Spanish detectives. He sought the meeting just weeks after dispatching cartel killers Eamon Cumberton and Christopher Slater to Lanzarote to assassinate the monk at Christmas 2015. Kinahan and the group cartel try their level best to make a deed, but nothing affects Monk. Hutch bolted as he noticed the duo entering the pub, ending their goal. Kinahan was enraged when Hutch declined to attend any meeting with the mob boss. Following the call, information was passed on indicating that Gerry Hutch believed the quarrel. The monk believed that it couldn't be sorted and things beyond their imagination that nobody could reach there. Cartel tries to solve it. The cartel tries its best to prevent the gang battle. They had tried to arrange a meeting a lot more times, but nothing happened. Finally, on September 25, 2015, a meeting was arranged at Madrid airport to solve the whole mess, and to make a decision to make a full stop and leave the whole argument behind. This was done just after the murder of Hutch's nephew at his apartment in southern Spain. All confirmed that if Daniel is attending the meeting, then they are coming. Maybe you are thinking about what happened to them? Did they meet? What are the outcomes? Is everything sorted out? So here is what happens, and the condition gets worse than before. There was no conclusion or outcome, but it made a call to mobs for war. Over the course of several days, Daniel Kinhan approached Eddie. Are you getting it? If not, then let's go in depth. According to Gardaí, Kinahan approached Eddie because he was close to his brother and wasn't regarded as a threat because he wasn't involved in organized crime. Gary and Barry Finnegan, cousins and cartel foot soldiers, inquired about a possible meeting with the monk's brother. One of the major suspects identified as part of Operation Raglan, followed Eddie's assassination on February 8, 2016, was a cartel assassin. The suspect. The unknown wiretaps also revealed that the suspect. He had been arrested twice by Gardaí over the homicide, once seeking the monk's help when he was threatened by dead criminal boss Eamon the Don Dunn. Gerry Hutch asked Daniel in 2009 whether the gunman could relocate to Spain because Dunn threatened him. Hutch boasted of putting Dunn in his place in a taped phone call. When the guy who would go on to become the prime suspect in his uncle's murder voiced fear for his safety 7 years later, Hutch responded, "There's no way they'll try anything because they'd know what they're getting into." Gerry Hutch and Daniel Kinhan remained close throughout the years until Gerry Hutch took the tragic decision to organize a hit on Daniel Kinhan in 2014. In September 2015, when the monk's nephew was slain, the gunman offered his services to the Kinahan cartel. However, despite being questioned about Eddie's death as part of Operation Raglan, he has not been charged. According to a top jail source, the prisoners frequently discuss the dispute and have all been paying close attention to Gerry Hutch's trial. Everyone is aware that this Kinahan associate had Gerry Hutch rescue his life before turning on Hutch's family for financial gain. The situation is turning to be more pathetic and miserable as time passes. Everyone is looking for the outcomes, but nothing works to define it. However, new revelations were made and made it more tricky. Hopefully, things soon become easy and clear to understand. Share your thoughts and opinions in the comments. Do like this video and subscribe to the channel for more videos like this. See you soon.